Oh, hey there. Didn't see you. I didn't know you were invited to this exclusive White House party that Obama invited me to. Crazy to knock India. But anyway, while I've got you, g'day there, guys. It's your main man, Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now, if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and get ready for some spicy stories. Let's go. Am I the a-hole for refusing to speak English at home just because my dad doesn't understand German? So I, female 16, was raised in a multilingual home. My mum is German, dad is American. I grew up speaking both languages, but as we lived in North America, and pretty much all my day-to-day interactions were in English, English pretty quickly became the family language. When alone with my mum, we speak in German, so I am decently fluent. Just nodding conversations about politics, science, etc. Those conversations were always in English. My dad has been with my mum for 30 years now, but has never really learnt German. He understands most simple conversations, but has never learned how to speak it. I've never been bothered by this, and nor has my mum. Recently, I've made the decision that I'm going to study in German for university once I graduate, meaning I'd like to improve my German for educational settings and conversations. So my mum and I now speak German all the time, even when discussing politics or other serious topics. I've done my best to include my dad in these conversations by explaining to him new words or translating and asking for his opinion. This has been going on for about 1 month, and during this time, he's made a few comments saying, "You aren't including me. It's because you don't want to talk to me," etc. Now I've tried to explain to him why I'm insistent on speaking German. He's had none of it, so I mostly ignored it. And yesterday, he flipped out, yelling that we were trying to exclude him, that we should just speak English since we don't live in Germany, and this is how it's always been. He even went as far as to say that because he pays for the house, we should speak an equal amount of English as German. I sort of laughed in his face and called him a jerk, and reminded him that he had 30 years to learn to speak German but chose not to, and if we want to speak it, we will. He continued to yell, but I stood my ground and said, if you actually cared, you would either shut up or try to learn with me. Needless to say, he wasn't very happy, and we haven't talked since. My mum says I may have taken it too far, and we should make an effort to speak less German around him, but I don't think we should. I called my brother, who's already moved out, and he said I was an a-hole, that our dad just felt left out. So, am I the a-hole? Now in the comments, Kfnurp says, everyone sucks here. He shouldn't have blown up at you like that, but whatever your excuses are, you were still excluding him. I really doubt that speaking to him in English every now and then would have significantly impacted your ability to communicate in German when you go to university. I agree with everyone sucks here. I've lived with people who mostly speak in Mandarin to each other, which I don't understand at all, and it's awful. On the other hand, the dad's refusal to learn the language does limit OP's ability to learn it. If she just wanted to learn it for herself, that would be one thing, but this could have a huge impact on her future. Pretty much all undergrad teaching in Germany is done in German, so she would need pretty good language skills. If she manages to go there, she won't have to pay any tuition fees, which could save her and the family tens of thousands of dollars, and she'd get lots of experience that she wouldn't in the US. OP's dad is an a-hole for not being supportive of that in any way. He could make an effort to learn since it's so important to his daughter, but he could also just help her to come up with other ideas to improve her German. Chucker23N says, you're the a-hole. Your intention may be to practice for studying abroad, and let's be honest, you also want to feel smug. But the result is that you're excluding him, and your repeated mentions of how he hasn't learnt enough are weird. That choice is between him and his partner. I disagree. I'm in a similar situation to the OP, and actually sounds like the OP's situation is better than mine because Dad has some basic ability to speak German. Parent A speaks language 1 and language 2. Parent B only speaks language 1, and honestly, I don't think it hurt my learning of language 2 as a child that Parent B didn't speak it because it lowered the ability for immersion. The kids are absolutely allowed to have judgment about their parents learning the other parent's main language because it impacts on them. Learning as a child is vastly different from learning as an adult, and some people are just better at picking up languages than others. My mother has lived in the US for 40 plus years, is completely immersed in English, and never taught us kids her mother tongue, and yet she still isn't completely fluent. And now she's lost some of her mother tongue too, so I guess she's not really fluent in anything now. And Cranky Kitty says, "You're the a-hole. You're excluding your father. It is possible to have conversations with your mother covering topics that will expand your vocabulary and still be able to speak English with your father. Just have those conversations with your mum at a time and place when your father isn't there. Your post drips with disdain that your father hasn't been able to learn German. Perhaps he struggles with learning a new language. Perhaps he simply didn't see a need, as you live in the US and your mother is clearly fluent in English. Calling your father a jerk is rude and uncalled for. You are deliberately excluding him from everyday family conversations. He has every reason to feel excluded. You have a couple of years to improve your German skills. Are you seriously proposing to exclude your own father from conversations for that long, without exploring other avenues of improving your skills? Once you're in Germany, you can practice your German all you want. Admittedly, you may have problems with this, as at least half of the people that you meet will want to practice their English with you. I agree with you're the a-hole. It's very rude to constantly speak a foreign language around someone who doesn't understand when there is a common language. Language is for communication, and OP and OP's mother speaking only German when they're with him inevitably means that he's unable to participate in that conversation. Don't blame the guy for being upset. Can't OP just save the German for when dad isn't around? Our next post is by user It's Amori, titled, "Am I the a-hole for asking a pregnant lady to pay for her water bottle? Please Reddit, help. I need to know if I have the moral high ground. I am extremely in need of your judgment." It all started when my friends and I, 17 male, went to a local football field to play. My best friend said that he would invite a recently married couple, 20 female, 20 male, to play with us. Obviously, the lady didn't play, she was just watching. During halftime, all of us were exhausted, so I offered to go to the nearby kiosk and buy water bottles for everyone who wanted one. A few people said they wanted one, and they all gave me the money to buy one for them. When I was at the kiosk, the recently married pregnant lady calls me and says, "Hey, could you buy a water bottle for me as well? I forgot to ask you while you were here, and don't worry about the money. I'll give it to you once you come." I said sure, and I bought one for her as well. I gave it to her, and she didn't pay, but I didn't mention it. It was getting late, and we were about to leave, and I go to my best friend and have the following conversation with him. I say, "Isn't your friend, the pregnant lady, going to pay for the water bottle?" And he's like, "Dude, are you serious? Just forget it already. It's just 50 cents. Look, it has nothing to do with the amount of money. She said she would pay, and now she's going back on her word. I was promised X if I do Y, then after I did Y, I didn't get X." And he replies, "She's pregnant, man. She has many expenses." So I say yes, and believe it or not, water is one of them. If she couldn't afford one, why offer to pay, or even ask me to buy one? Also, what has pregnancy got to do with anything? Are pregnant people allowed to break their promises and not be called out for it? She can't just treat people, especially strangers, I don't know her, like her servants. And he replies, "Look, I'll pay for her water bottle, just don't mention it." So my best friend gave me the 50 cents and I shut it. However, now I feel awful. How could I accept money from my best friend? He didn't even have to pay. Was that really in the wrong? I don't know, but I do feel guilty. I can see how you translate this situation as a slap in the face from your best friend, and how you could be overthinking it, but really, I think it's just common decency to pay for something that you said you'll pay for. If you back off on that promise, and then you say, "Oh, you know what, I'm pregnant, I've got so many expenses, I can't afford 50 cents for a bottle of water, who do you take me for?" That is an excuse, and it's not an acceptable one. But yeah, these things happen, and I'm not going to attribute malice to what could be ignorance in this situation from her. She is pregnant, and sometimes their brains go a little bit cuckoo. You see that quite often in entitled parents, and you do see it quite often in Am I the Asshole? And even if you're not pregnant, you can just have a brain fart and be like, oh my god, I did say that, but my brain completely wiped that memory away. I'm so sorry if you thought that I was being a dick intentionally. So for this situation, I'm going to go no a-holes here. I'm going to assume it was ignorance, and I'm going to assume that she didn't mean any wrong. But some people could see that the pregnant friend is an asshole, and I can see where they're coming from for that one. Now in the comments, 2010 Rumblewagon says, not the a-hole because she offered to pay, but didn't. However, pregnancy brain is a real thing that I deal with my current pregnant wife. Short-term memory kinda sucks. She may have simply forgotten. However, 50 cents isn't worth the time you're worrying about. Pregnancy brain is real. I was driving and had a thought that, crap, I forgot my keys. They were in my ignition. I was driving. Oh girl, I started crying that I locked myself out of my house when I couldn't find my keys, as I was sitting on my sofa in my living room. I left the keys in the lock on the front door. So yeah, not only did I forget my keys, I forgot where I was and what my living room looked like. Quote, I feel awful, how could I accept money from my best friend? But 50 cents? It's not even worth the time you spent writing the post, forget about it. This guy sounds exhausting. It's not the cost, it's the principle of the thing. I would think His Holiness the Pope would understand. Yes, it's not worth the effort over 50 cents, but that is likely what this person was relying on to not have to pay. The problem here isn't that the pregnant woman didn't pay the 50 cents or that OP's friend did. The problem is that OP feels awful because his best friend voluntarily gave him 50 cents, which is ludicrous. I think the problem is for 50 cents, yeah, OP is kind of an a-hole. The principle of it, sure, but everyone involved thinks OP is the a-hole. I would too. Being cheap isn't really a great look among friends. Now, I'm not going to call OP out on it because technically I should pay for what I asked someone to get, but I surely am going to make a mental note that this isn't a person who overlooks the little things or does small acts of kindness. If all that really mattered was the principle, OP wouldn't be posting on here asking if they were the a-hole. And Scrap Queen says, you're the a-hole. Because instead of asking her for the money, you made a big deal about it to someone else. Here's a tip. Next time you get something for someone that they said they would pay for, lightly say as you hand it to them, that'll be 50 cents, please. Agreed. You're the a-hole for making an issue out of this. It would have been kinder for you to insist that you got it, especially considering the physical demands of pregnancy, which can affect short-term memory, and that you would presumably want her to feel comfortable and welcome, or that she can get you next time. Fair enough if you don't want to do that, but just politely say, here you go. It was 50 cents. And our next post is by user AnonymousBaby12345, titled, would I be the a-hole if I lied and told everyone I have fertility issues when I actually don't? So I'm just going to get into it. I'm an early 30s woman who's married, and we both come from a conservative family. I've never had that motherly instinct and never really imagined myself having children. I have plenty of nieces and nephews to spoil, and I quite like my alone time. My partner feels the same way as I, and honestly, the older we get, the more we feel that it would be irresponsible to bring a child into this world as much older parents and into poverty. We make just enough for the both of us to live comfortably, as well as provide emergency support to our family members if they need it. The issue comes from our family and friends constantly asking us when, not if, we will have kids. We've told them we just aren't interested, but they seem to take it as we just aren't ready. It's not malicious, just annoying, in the same way a mosquito or a buzzing fly will get. It's getting worse since my sister just gave birth to her first kid, and everyone seems to automatically ask when it will be my turn. My question is, would I be the a-hole if I were to tell everyone I have fertility issues, and that's why we cannot have kids? I believe that would shame them a bit and stop their constant questions. And edit, I want it to be clear that I've explicitly told my family I don't want kids. Even gotten angry at them. But my family simply believes that having kids is like breathing air for women. They simply cannot fathom the fact that a woman simply doesn't want kids. It's like they have amnesia and will forget that I don't want kids, lol. I also don't want to constantly have a deep conversation about why I don't want kids, or get agitated and upset at their annoying kid questions. My thoughts were to quietly say that it's been a shame of mine that I couldn't actually have kids, and that over time, I've come to terms with God's plan. Because of course, my family is deeply religious, and want to concentrate on being the best aunt, sister, daughter, niece to everyone. I know this will largely shut them up. But I also know this is a pretty icky thing to lie about, which is why I turned to the Reddit AmITheA community to pass judgment on me. To be fair, it is an icky thing to lie about, and it's probably the wrong lie to be telling. I think you just have to continue to be snappy with these people, but that's just my interpretation of the situation, and what I would probably do if I were you. As seen in a lot of Am I the Asshole stories, and in r/entitled parents and entitled people, when you just say that you're infertile, they're just like, adoption, of IVF, fertility treatments, what is gonna get you a baby, what's gonna make you a family, you're so depressed without a family. So while it's absolutely gonna quell the immediate having a baby the natural way, it's not gonna stop them, like it's not the right solution in my opinion. At the end of the day, you do you, and what works best for you in this situation. I don't think you're the a-hole for wanting them to leave you alone. So yeah, not the a-hole. Now in the comments, DriverFound39 says, not the a-hole. As a woman in my mid-30s with absolutely no intention of ever having kids, it's infuriating when people don't take no for an answer, but lying isn't the solution. I can't say you're an a-hole because you're frustrated and just want it to stop, but I would suggest just being blunt and honest rather than lying. If you get the when question, just answer with never. If they keep pushing the issue, be as gentle or as forceful as need be to get them to back off. Remember, whether it's family or not, it's not their decision or even their business. Not the a-hole. This is the right approach. Ask them to give you some space and to go low contact after sitting them down and having a straightforward conversation about how uncomfortable they're making you. Your family needs to learn boundaries, and lying to them will just lead to them finding new workarounds to make you uncomfortable in your life choices. I can't really vote on this, but you're opening the floodgates for them to recommend you fertility treatments. Just say that you don't want to have kids, or tell them you got or are going to get your tubes tied so they'd take you seriously. One recommendation that I know a lot of child-free women use is that after sterilization, telling people you can't have kids even if you tried. A lot of people won't think of sterilization, they'll think of a different medical issue that can cause people to not be able to have kids. That's what I do, to be honest. It's been the best at shutting most people down. There's always a few who have something to say though. And Whittles888 says, not the a-hole, but I recommend against it. It'll just turn to them hounding you about adoption and fertility treatment, as others have said. Tell them the truth. It's annoying to repeat yourself, but if they figure out you're lying, it'll be worse. My family does this to me and asks, what if you get pregnant by accident? They don't like it when I say I'll have an abortion. They ask what my boyfriend wants, and I've never dated a man who wants kids. It's an instant nope from me. They've started to get the point, but my mother will not give up completely. I remind her every time, no matter her argument, I will never be having a child. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Friendly reminder that I'm now posting daily on my second channel, Markee 2. If you want to laugh at memes with me, link is down in the description below. On phone, you just click that little arrow underneath the video. I also want to say thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your names are currently floating down the screen here, and I love to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. If you see yourself on screen, I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back for being amazing as always, and thank you for supporting me again. I do hope that you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever it is you're up to. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.